Hi, Chuck.
Hi, Vassal.
Always pleasure to meet you and have a conversation with you.
Yeah, good to see you again.
What kind of connections do you have with Ukrainian startup ecosystem?
Sure. Yeah. So my contacts with the Ukrainian startup ecosystem really began with USAID and the work that Alicia is doing. So we organized the first Ukrainian entrepreneurs panel at Stanford University as part of my entrepreneurship class. And so after that, a lot of the students were really motivated to help the Ukrainian startups, and we organized email to go around to look to recruit Stanford students as interns for Ukrainian startups. Of course, I knew of the Ukrainian ecosystem and influence in Silicon Valley even before that. There's a lot of really strong engineering talent and a lot of Silicon Valley companies that have been collaborating with Ukrainian engineers and startups over the years.
What can you say about Ukrainian founders? Because you have been in contact with so many founders from different countries. Do you see any specific skills, mindset?
Yeah, definitely. So I think there are two main things that stand out to me as unique about Ukrainian founders. The first is the very strong mathematical and engineering background. The Ukrainian universities and education system is very strong, especially in math and engineering. And so that really stands out to me as the first characteristic of the Ukrainian entrepreneurs. The second is highlighted really by the resilience and the strength and determination of the Ukrainian founders. So I think the ability to adapt and the resiliency that they've shown after the Russian war has really been inspirational to many of us here.
Mhm. What fields do you think we need to educate ourselves more to be more successful?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the coursework and curriculum that I teach to the Stanford engineers could potentially be helpful. A lot of that is around the business skills and marketing, especially digital marketing. I think, especially in terms of looking towards markets here in the US and in Europe, some skills and training around digital marketing and how to enter those markets, the go-to-market strategies, as well as fundraising could be helpful.
When we first met and I heard your story, I know that you invest yourself to startups. You've been a part of different VC funds, and also your students are entrepreneurs and VCs and founders. So this level of education here in Stanford, when the professors like you don't just teach a theory, but also practice, invest. Who is the founder that you can invest to his company? Can you describe how do you see, okay, I want to invest in this company or in this guy, business more important, personality. Can you please tell us a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. So one of the things that I really look for first is the founding team, and so this also comes out of the research that we've been doing on entrepreneurship and why some founding teams succeed and others fail. So one of the most important characteristics is the size of the founding team. So having 2 to 3 co-founders instead of just a solo founder. And having the complementary skills on the founding team that match up with the characteristics and strategy of the business. So having founders that have some prior experience, maybe this is not their first startup, but this might be their second or the third attempt. That's something that I look for. Strong engineering background. And then beyond that, I think at the early stages, you're really primarily making a bet on the team. But the idea has got to be one that's pursuing an opportunity in a market that's growing and with a novel technology. Because it's really tough to compete. It's very competitive here in Silicon Valley and increasingly around the world. And so being part of a new, fast-growing market with an exciting technology is really important also.
How education is important, and what is the way to get education if you can afford to pay for the education in Stanford? What
Yeah.
would be your advice?
So education is really important. I've been looking at these data sets of alumni entrepreneurs and looking at who succeeds and who's more likely to grow a larger company. And definitely we find that, those that have finished certainly their undergraduate degree, but even going on to get a master's degree, they are more likely to succeed. And I think that's increasingly the case. I had the chance to interview Andy Bechtolsheim, who is, of course, one of the co-founders of Sun Microsystems, has a long history here in Silicon Valley, sits on the board of Intel. And one of the things that he was pointing out to me, having been here in Silicon Valley over many decades, is that in the early days, there was less competition. And so either his startups or those that he was investing in could afford to make a few mistakes and they could still recover and succeed. But these days, the level of competition is much stronger. And even if you have an innovative idea, pretty soon there's a few other competitors on your heels. And so there's not as much room for error and for mistakes because the competitors are close behind. And so having a course in entrepreneurship or having some prior experience becomes even more important to avoid making those mistakes. So for those that obviously are lucky enough to get into Stanford, there's a lot of great opportunities for entrepreneurship education, for getting some experience as a student. For those that maybe can't afford to attend, such a university, I think there are still opportunities for entrepreneurship education. There's more and more content available on the web. So people can take a look at our website and our Stanford Engineering Entrepreneurship Center, STVP. There's a lot of great content there that's available for free. A lot of the Y Combinator startup school materials are also available for free on the web. So a lot of entrepreneurs are in a hurry to get started building their business. But taking some time to get some background in the frameworks and the process is really important. And then the other thing that I would emphasize is the importance of having a mentor. So I've also been doing a lot of research on that. And so even Steve Jobs had a mentor. Many famous entrepreneurs around Silicon Valley have mentors. And so almost anyone can, find someone. They don't have to be super successful, but someone who's a few years ahead of you in their entrepreneurial journey that can help you avoid some of the pitfalls and mistakes that can be really valuable.
How important for the founder outside of the US, outside of the Bay Area, to come here to Silicon Valley? How much time this founder have to spend there if it's important to be there, and why?
Yeah, so I think, Silicon Valley has always been a melting pot, and we've really benefited over the decades from waves of immigrants coming and a relatively open, welcoming environment. And this has been really important in the history of Silicon Valley. So I encourage people that are thinking about moving here to spend at least some time in Silicon Valley, because I think they'll find it's a really fertile and inspiring place where there are a lot of other entrepreneurs, a lot of investors, and a lot of encouragement and inspiration. People are very willing to help out and to make introductions because everyone knows how difficult it is to start a company if they've done it before. And so people are very willing to help as a result. That said, a lot of the entrepreneurial ecosystems around the world are starting to grow also. And so I think the connections between Silicon Valley and a lot of the other emerging entrepreneurial ecosystems have really been growing over the years. And so it's possible to also spend a short amount of time here, even just a few weeks, build up some connections, and then carry some of those ties back home to help develop the entrepreneurial ecosystem other places. So I think that's one of the big roles of Silicon Valley these days. A lot of Silicon Valley investors are also looking to invest in startups that are more global, especially during the pandemic and afterwards. People got much more comfortable with investing in other places and making connections over Zoom. And a lot of Silicon Valley companies are also looking to collaborate and to form alliances and partnerships of various types. So I think if you can move here, that's great. There's definitely a lot of resources, but a lot of other entrepreneurial ecosystems around the world are starting to grow also. And I think we all benefit from exchanging information and ideas with one another. Like I said, forming some of those personal relationships here can really help with the flow of either information or investment dollars.
If you would be a founder right now and you would choose in what market sector to build a startup, how to choose where to build your startup?
Yeah, so the research that we've been doing over the years really shows that fast-growing markets have the best likelihood of success and survival for entrepreneurs. So it's really tough when the market's at an extremely nascent stage. There's still a lot of uncertainty. It's not clear what the killer app is going to be or what the customers want exactly. On the other hand, if you're going after more mature markets, there's usually large players that are dominating those markets and have a strong market presence already. So the sweet spot's really in the middle. Getting the timing right is very difficult. Better to be a bit on the early side. But what we see from the data is that fast-growing markets, and also you don't have to be the first mover. The first mover advantage turns out to be a bit of a myth unless there are very strong network effects. Otherwise, being a fast follower and learning from those early movers turns out to be a pretty good strategy.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. What trends do you see right now? What industries are the most interesting and growing?
Sure. So everyone's talking about generative AI these days.
Is it not too late? Like it's so hot right now.
I don't think it's too late. I don't think it's too late.
So it's still the beginning.
Yeah, I think it's still the beginning.
One of my friend, he came in 1999.
Yeah.
He was like, I thought it's already too late to build something. And then he got to Google. And he was like 21st in Google. But
amazing.
He was thinking that this is too late.
Yeah.
AI is not too late. It's just only the beginning, do you think?
Definitely. There's always opportunities in entrepreneurship, and I think there's only more and more opportunities as time goes by, because the number of technology fields and the number of possible areas to innovate in is only increasing. So, for AI, for many years, people thought that it was, off too far in the future.
Yeah.
And I remember being at MIT for grad school, and there was excitement about AI, but also concern that maybe it was too far off in the future. So the whole, sector around AI applications, some good data going back for a few years now showing it's been growing in terms of investment dollars at, 40% plus compound annual growth rate for several years now. So I think this latest wave with generative AI is only, one step further along that same trajectory. So I think AI is going to be hot for years to come. Crypto and the whole blockchain area, I think, is still exciting, even though we're in the midst of the crypto winter.
Many people say that there is no real use case for the Web3. What do you think about that? Because I see some.
Yeah, I think there are definitely use cases. It's up to the next generation of entrepreneurs to use their creativity and also practice the good techniques that we know around lean startup, customer development, design thinking, and find, where those use cases are most valuable exactly. So I don't have a perfect crystal ball about what they're going to be, but I think the whole Web3 trend is also going to be with us for years to come. And, sometimes during a downturn, that's actually the best time to start a company. It's sort of a trial by fire. It's harder to raise money, but it's relatively easier to recruit talent. And if you can make it through that trial by fire, often those companies are the stronger ones coming out of the downturn and into the recovery.
Right now, it's some sort of crisis, so VCs don't invest a lot. The valuations are going down, and many companies, they don't fundraise. But still, I see many deals coming on. And what do you see right now? What's happening?
Yeah, so people are definitely becoming more cautious. There was a lot of enthusiasm and hype, I think, the past few years. We had, 10 plus years of bull market growth. There's always cycles in Silicon Valley. You mentioned the dot-com boom. We saw this also in 2008, 2009 was around the time when I first moved here to Stanford and to Silicon Valley. So these cycles will come and go. I think for entrepreneurs, you just have to, adapt and be resilient and keep at it. For investors, these times when valuations come down and there's fewer investors chasing entrepreneurs to put in money, this is actually when the returns become much better. And so for investors, I always say, it's better to just be consistent in your investment over the years. I think everyone's got to focus a little bit more on business models that have the potential to generate some revenue and profit in the near term. So those days when people were looking for growth at any cost, regardless of the business model or regardless of the cost of acquiring users, those are gone for now. And usually in these more lean times, people put a bit more scrutiny on the business model. So I think that's one thing for everyone to be aware of. But otherwise, what we can see from prior cycles is when the money dries up, usually the early stage is the one that has the hardest time raising money. But the patenting and the progress in technology continues. And so I think entrepreneurs just have to become more resilient and recognize also that raising money is going to take more time than it did the past few years.
Can you tell a few words for Ukrainian startups to motivate them to keep going or to start?
Sure. So I think for the Ukrainian founders out there or for the aspiring next generation of Ukrainian founders, I hope that you'll take some inspiration that, as I was mentioning, even when times seem very tough and the future looks a bit more dark, I think it's the entrepreneurs in society that really help to push us forward and to bring us out of these downturns or out of these harder times. Entrepreneurs are creating the economy of the future. The companies that are going to be strong 5 years from now or 10 years from now, they're being created today. And so I think we'll look back 10 years from now and we'll be very thankful to the current generation of Ukrainian entrepreneurs, both for rebuilding the economy in the Ukraine and also for contributing to innovation here in Silicon Valley and around the world. So I think if you want to be part of that legacy, then start building your company now. If you're an entrepreneur right now, I know times are tough, but keep at it. Every entrepreneur has those times of trial, and this is what makes you stronger for the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vasil. Thank you.